Okay, so this is a recording with Jen, who has been working with me very recently, and she would like to tell you about what happened for her, what her problems were before, what her experience was like having homeopathy, and what her life is like now. So you want to go ahead, Jen?
Yeah. Okay, well, the thing that originally was kind of inspiring me to seek treatment is anxiety.
Mm.
That there was a lot more going on, but that was kind of the worst symptom that I had. And basically, it wasn't just I feel a little anxious. It was debilitating anxiety that had sort of inhibited my ability to function on a daily basis. There were other things that were happening too that pertaining to my health that were causing the anxiety, but really anxiety had taken over everything else. And in spring, right around the time of the COVID-19 lockdown in the US, when everyone was really stressed out, I began to have these strange allergic reactions to everything. It felt like I was becoming allergic to any product I used on my skin, foods, anything. I was allergic to it all, and that made me anxious. And that anxiety was so bad that I would wake up in the morning and think, oh my, I can't do this. I'm just so scared. I was afraid that something was seriously wrong with me, that I would never get better, that everything was so seemingly insignificant in medical terms that I thought I would be dismissed by doctors. And I couldn't even see a doctor at that point in time because it was right in the middle of the COVID-19 frenzy, the very, very first wave.
Mm.
So at the time that I began to work with Sally, I knew that something had to give because I was no longer sleeping. I would wake up in the night terrified. And I once went 24 hours without eating just because I was so frightened and so sick with worry that I couldn't even eat. I was having trouble even just performing all the day-to-day things that moms have to do, and wives. You have to feed your family, clean your house. So I would say for myself, even though lots of things have improved with homeopathy, anxiety for me was the thing that sort of, I thought, okay, I need help with this. And I had just happened to be on Facebook and I had seen Sally commenting to someone about helping them with histamine intolerance. And so I sent her a message and she responded and was like, yes, I can help you. And it's kind of funny, even before we were officially working together, I was sending messages like, oh, I'm so afraid, which is kind of funny because that probably helped you determine my remedy picture now that I think about it. But so from the very beginning, it was, Sally was reassuring and kind. So when we had our initial consultation, I had pages and pages of notes, just, this is everything that's wrong with me. Please fix me. And so we began treatment. And at first I thought, this is so simple. It's impossible. This can't work because, my constitutional remedy was prescribed. And I think that's just where we started at first with, even before we did any sort of detoxing, we started with the constitutional remedy and it hit stuff to help with histamine. And so I began to do it and thought, okay, this can't work. Well, within a week, it was working. It was work. I remember telling my friend, I'm not anxious. I'm not scared. I'm normal again. And I continued to be more and more normal as the month went on because there was a month between, our initial consultation and then our follow-up consultation. Mm-hmm. Things just kept getting better. And anytime there would be a bump, I would think, oh, here's a new aggravation. I would just send a message and you would very quickly reassure me, no, that's okay. That's to be expected. everything's fine. But really, homeopathy does all of the work, and you just live your life and get better.
Mm.
Seriously, that is how easy it is. And, you know, a lot of my family members were skeptical that, oh, this can't, they said it's placebo. This
Mm.
has to be placebo. But then in the middle of the treatment, I had cellulitis. I went to the doctor, had cellulitis. She wanted to start me on antibiotics, and I didn't want to do that. So I got in touch, and we started that. You prescribed 3 remedies,
Yeah.
and my cellulitis it treated it. It's gone.
Mm.
And I was telling a friend that is not placebo. Placebos cannot do that.
No.
I have friends who were hospitalized with cellulitis because it ran rampant. It got out of control. They tried to control it with natural remedies, and it didn't work. So I told my friend, I was like, well, homeopathy works. Homeopathy treated cellulitis. It was healed. It is gone. And I can't do that with the power of my mind.
Yeah.
That was homeopathy.
That's it. And it's not even the homeopathy that does the work. The homeopathy is like just a little stimulus. In actual fact, the power of the work is done by your body. It's your body that does the work. So so you said you just sit back and homeopathy does the work. In actual fact, you sit back and your body does the work with a little stimulus from homeopathy. We give you a little stimulus, and your body has the power to do all that healing. Your body has the power to heal that cellulitis. It's, and the anxiety and all the allergy issues you had as well. I also put you on a low histamine diet, as you remember.
Right, yes.
And I think you said you lost 25 pounds, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a month. In a month I did. So it was really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Because I think, as you pay more attention to your nutrition, it helps your body heal. It helps give your body energy to heal itself.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I think during the treatment that homeopathy has done is it has just brought balance. It's like things that I didn't even talk to you about because they had become so part of my daily life. They've all most of them have just balanced out.
Yeah.
And there are times in treatment where you're uncovering layers of you've dealt with in the past, and that's uncomfortable, but it's a lot less uncomfortable than being sick.
Yes. Yeah. And also, what I think homeopathy does quite often is it heals it's almost like it heals the suffering that you went through. So not only do you now become well, but it seems to me from my experience with patients that they also are healed of the period of suffering they went through. And they'll quite often come to me having suffered extreme pain. I can remember one woman and she'd had a knee surgery, a knee replacement, and she was in agony because they damaged part of the operation. They damaged the nerves, and they told her this is a lifelong problem that you're going to have. This was this happened during the operation. There was nothing that we can do about it. Sometimes this happens. You're going to live with this neuralgia for life. And she came to me, and we resolved the neuralgia really quickly. And it was like she wasn't even particularly impressed by that. And I've learned as a homeopath that you forget the pain you went through, even that it's just it kind of heals the suffering. So quite often people will be just like, well, great. Her problem was that she'd been cold since she was 13. She'd had tuberculosis at 13. She was now in her 60s, and she'd been cold, so chilly, like profoundly cold since then. And the remedy I'd given her had stopped her being cold for a couple of days. And now she was disappointed because she was cold again. So she forgot about the neuralgia of the knee that she was going to live with for the rest of her life. And it was unbearable pain. She forgot about that. She just wanted to be warm. And it's quite profound. I've had a child come to me once, and he was in a terrible state of anxiety. And I was treating him for anxiety. And then he came back to me and said, I don't even know why I'm seeing you, because I don't know what I came to you for in the first place. I didn't have any problems. And he was a 13-year-old lad. So I read his words back to him, and he was just like astounded because he'd forgotten. It was almost like the homeopathy had also healed the suffering. And you'll see with Most animals in the animal kingdom, they don't walk around with their suffering. They get through an event and then they move on. As humans, we have an ability to walk around with our suffering. And it feels to me like homeopathy actually heals the suffering as well as the condition. So that you're free to live, because it's all about, health is all about freedom on every level.
Right.
Emotional
Absolutely.
freedom from passions, anxiety being a big passion, freedom to move around, etc. So you regain your freedom in the process. Yeah, so it's been good.
Yes, absolutely.
And you found it easy to do. It was not traumatic. I don't think you had any particularly big aggravations, but I tend to try very hard to so imagine you've come across the healing hump. Your body should be able to heal, but it can't, and you're stuck at this hump. When I give you a remedy, I'll try and pitch it just around about here, not up here, so that you don't get too much of an aggravation, just enough to give your body the oomph to get over and that hump and continue the healing. So as I remember, you didn't have too much of an aggravation. We didn't want to aggravate you because your state was already, you were in a state of profound anxiety. But I wish I could remember now, Jen. There was a statement that you made, and it was, I've got it somewhere because we actually posted it on my Facebook page, as you remember. And it was a statement that describes your constitutional remedy perfectly, arsenicum. It was just, I'll go back and have a look at it and post it underneath when I post this, because it was quite intriguing. And other homeopaths, colleagues of mine, said, oh, that's such a perfect, description of arsenicum. It was so fearful, it's hard to even live.
Right. That's, I think one of the things that I had said was, fear has taken me over.
That's it. Yes.
Taken me over.
Exactly right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So, since the cellulitis healed, we had been able to start the detox, which that's the phase I think that some people are afraid of or have with. It's not been difficult for me at all. It's very gentle, very gradual, and I'm really not having any trouble. It's so easy. It is just so easy.
That's as you remember that you have that article that I give you that's got the toxicity symptoms and the elimination symptoms, and we work until we see enough elimination symptoms, but we don't want to see the toxicity symptoms. So sometimes these homeopathic detoxes, if you're mobilizing toxins faster than you can eliminate them, can be a bit of a bumpy road. But I've been working the last 3 years on tailoring them so you can get them absolutely tailored to the individual. So you shouldn't see aggravations. You should see sort of increase in stools, increase in urine, etc., some sweating, these elimination symptoms. But the other unpleasant symptoms you shouldn't be seeing. In fact, I would say that you shouldn't be having those. You're working too fast at mobilizing, faster than you can eliminate. And there's lots of things we can do to make it better. So I've been myself detoxing because I had very high toxic metals. So I know how to, I've experimented on myself. I know how to make them easier because I've physically felt it. And I also know how horrible it is when you have an aggravation with them. So hopefully people will come and have them done gently. I'm thinking of doing some classes for homeopaths on doing those very gently as well. That's my next plan. Some kind of webinar.
That's been my experience. It's been very, very gentle, very not overwhelming. Just I think because it is so gradual, it's not been hard at all. It has, and the biggest symptom I've had is more sleepiness, increased sleepiness.
Yeah, that's your body healing.
So that's just, I go to bed a little bit earlier at night, and it's been no problem at all.
Yeah. It's good for you. Your body's calling for your sleep energy. That's taking that the energy that you would put into activity and using it for healing. It's a good sign that your body's doing some healing. This is why we tend to get very sleepy and tired and exhausted when we're sick, because your body's prioritizing everything apart from muscular energy. So that's good. Yeah. So thanks for coming and talking to me today. It's an absolute pleasure to work with you as ever. And I'm very grateful that you're happy to we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure working with you, Sally. I now have your picture on my heroes wall. Because honestly, I'm thinking, I've sent everyone I know, I'm like, go see Sally. She can help. Go see her.
Oh, the pressure. It's good. I mean, I can't help everybody. Sometimes people have their constitutional remedy happens to be a very small, rare remedy. And so sometimes there's a bit of trial and error coming to it. Your picture was very clear. Even though you're in a chronic state of ill health, your homeopathic picture was so clear that the first time I saw you speaking on the group, I could have told you what you needed. In fact, I think I did pretty much tell you, because you came to me before we consulted and I gave you a dose of arsenicum because you were in a state of anxiety. And I think that work started then, because your remedy was so clear. When you've got that clarity, this is lovely, but that's a luxury, because there's something like 8,000 remedies. I mean, I think 120 of them cover 80% of cases, so that people have proven a lot of new remedies that I don't even spend a lot of time with. There's no way you can learn 8,000, but there's a good core of 3,000 remedies probably that would be used by most homeopaths, and so we've got to find your remedy out of that many. So we're always looking for peculiar symptoms that we can find a needle in a haystack and so on. So when somebody comes and tells you their remedy in, like practically reads out the materia medica to you, you're like, yes, I know what this is. I'm 99% sure this is arsenicum. Yeah.
I'm glad I made things easy. But another thing though that I would encourage anyone who's working with a homeopath is be honest with your homeopath and don't be afraid to unleash the extent of your anxiety, your frame of mind, what's happening, because your frame of mind is huge in helping to shape your remedy picture.
Yes,
and
it is.
Don't try to think, well, I don't want to overwhelm my homeopath.
No, we've got really good buffers. We've got even better buffer zones than counsellors, I think.
Right.
I have a hat on, and it's something you develop. I call it my homeopath's hat. And then you don't become emotionally involved or overwhelmed by somebody's pain. And there's always, I think, being a homeopath, because you know how quickly things can change, you always come to the whole situation with hope. I always come with hope. It's just, we can resolve this. We can sort it out. So.
Exactly.
Okay, so I've got a patient coming in a sec, and that was my notification. So it's lovely to see you today, Jen, and thanks for recording with me. It's a pleasure.
Okay. No problem. Thank you so much, Sally.
Pleasure.